Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to talk about solving the equation that we have been working with in our iPhone Samsung problem. But before we do that, I want to take a look at some good mistakes that I saw yesterday. The first one I want to look at is this representation. What do you notice about this one? What mistake do you notice? So what I see here is that this representation has two ones instead of three x's. Remember, the x's are different, and the x's are going to look like this. Here's the correct representation. The three x's are going to be the longer bars, and they're going to be green because they're +3. All right, here's another good mistake I saw. All right, this one, again, for the same equation. What do you notice about this one? Right, the mistake here was that when they represented the three x's, they did use the x's, but they used the negatives instead of the positives. And you'll notice that when representing the -12x, they probably forgot to add the opposite. Add the opposite because these should be -12. Okay, again, here is the correct representation. All right, one more that I want to look at is this one. This was the representation for -4x plus 6 equals -14. What mistake do you notice here? Okay, that's a good mistake. Instead of drawing the line through the equal sign, which would be over here, this person accidentally drew the line through the addition sign. So we want to make sure that we represent it with two sides balanced. So our equal sign is where we draw our balance. All right, and one more. This one representing the same problem. What mistake do you see here? All right, so the mistake here, this person confused the x's and the ones because the -4x's, so these should be red and they're only 4, should only be 4, and these should be positive and there should be 6. So again, here is the correct representation. Okay, so that clears up a couple of our mistakes. Let's move on to solving some more equations. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's remember what we are trying to do here. We want to, when solving equations, we want to be able to solve this equation. 20x plus 240 equals 40x. That's our iPhone Samsung problem. But we don't know how to do that yet. We do know how to solve equations like this, which we practiced. Now, the thing we need to remember about both of these kinds of equations is the goal is the exact same thing for both. The goal is to get x by itself. No matter which of these equations you're solving, we want x by itself. And to do that, we're going to use inverse operations in both types of equations. We're also going to, whatever we do to one side of the equation, we're going to do the same thing to the other side. That's the same no matter what type of equation you're solving. Keeping this in mind, let's take a look at specifically how to solve this type of equation that has variables on both sides. So when we solve an equation with variables on both sides, we need to keep in mind the goal is to get one x by itself on one side. And the problem with that is you'll notice there are x's on this side and this side. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get rid of either these 7x's or get rid of these 9x's. Now, it really doesn't matter which one you do, but I always get rid of the smaller number. So this is 7x, and so I get rid of that first. So to do that, we know that we are going to have to add -7x. Every negative x cancels out a positive x, So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we need to do the same thing to the other side. The inverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops. Oops. 7. Okay, now, once we've done that, now we have x's only on one side of the equation, which is what we wanted, and we can now divide this into two groups. So, two groups on this side, that means we're going to divide these into two groups. So when we do that, we end up with exactly what we want, which is, we want to see what 1x equals, and 1x equals 4. We don't have to keep these if we don't want to. We can get rid of them and see our solution x equals 4. The next equation that we want to look at is negative 14x plus 3 equals negative 10x minus 1. Now this one, you'll notice, again, we have x's on both sides. We have negative 14x's on this side and negative 10x's on this side. And again, first thing we want to do is remove the x's from one or the other side. Now the question is, do I get rid of these or do I get rid of these? I said last time that I always get rid of the smaller value of x's, smaller number of x's. Well, 14 is a lot of x's, but it's negative 14. So really, negative 14 is the smaller number. And again, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to get rid of the negative 14 x's first. Now to get rid of them, I'm going to do the inverse, so I'm going to add 14x. So I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 to this side. And I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 to this side. Now we have what we want. We have x's only on one side of our equation. We can continue from here. The next thing we want to do is get rid of this negative 1 because we want the x's by themselves. So I am going to do the inverse. I'm going to add 1 to this side. To do the same to the other, I'm going to add 1 to this side. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this into 4 groups. Looks like it'll be easier if I turn these. So I'm going to turn them 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. And of course these then have to go into 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. This shows me that each x is the same as 1. That gives me the end solution 1 equals x. I do not have to keep any of these. If you'd like to, you can, but we're really only interested in what one group equals. So 1x equals 1. Here is what you will do next.